Welcome back to India Tonight. If Mohali gave India and Pakistan the chance of a new start, what is the way forward? Casey Singh, what's the way forward? Bearing in mind that you're a skeptic about the new start to begin with.
Well, the way forward has to be, let's take it from where it is now. The Prime Ministers have met. Let there be substantial progress on whatever commitments have been given by at the Home Secretary or Interior Secretary level. We'll see over the next few weeks. The Defence Secretaries have to meet, the Commerce Secretaries have to meet. Commerce Secretaries certainly do not have any hurdle. Let Pakistan open up normalized trade between India and Pakistan, allow overland transit to Afghanistan, bring Afghanistan into the SAARC sector. Let there be, at least on the economic, trade, commercial side, where there should not be any hurdles, some progress, which will indicate that the Mohali's spirit is not just a wisp of the moment.
Okay. Aziz Ahmed Khan, let me put the same question to you. As Pakistan's former High Commissioner to India, assuming that this is an opportunity for a fresh start between the two countries, what would you say should be the way forward?
Well, I think the way forward is that we intensify our dialogue process. We look at the issues and we see where we can find solutions. I agree with Casey entirely that we should pay more attention to trade and see how trade can be expanded. There is tremendous scope for expansion of bilateral trade between India and Pakistan. It had picked up from 2003 onwards, and had Mumbai not happened, it would have been double of the $2 billion trade that was last year. And I think we can make progress there. As far as Defence Secretary's meeting is concerned, I think the two sides should now finally decide that the Siachen agreement, which was agreed to in 1989, should finally be implemented. There's, we had agreed to withdraw the forces from Siachen Glacier, and we have not implemented that agreement. We should implement that. The Silk Creek is the same thing. It is a very doable thing, and we can make substantial progress on that. Apart from that, I personally feel that all the different CBMs that we had agreed to are really begging to be implemented more efficiently in a better way. I mean, rather than following just the letter of the wordings in those CBMs, we should also follow the spirit behind those CBMs and ease the people-to-people contact, for example, between the two countries.
You heard mentioned there that this is an opportunity to deliver on Silk Creek and Siachen. The Pakistanis have long believed that there is a Siachen agreement that's been more or less agreed to. It's just that India lacks the will to implement it. They're pretty confident that Silk Creek is doable as well. But is that realistic from an Indian point of view?
I think both sides have negotiated a number of things in the last 5-6 years. So the many boxes that can be ticked off, if there is political will on both sides, I think it's not just India holding back, there are wrinkles on the other side as well. Siachen, Silk Creek, expanded trade, more Kashmir CVMs, expansion of the religious, the tourism, which you liberalize the agreements. So I think you have a number of agreements that can be ticked off because negotiations have already been done. It takes little effort to actually produce those agreements. What are the complications? Mumbai progress and another terror incident. So the question is, how do you generate that trust so that India can move forward? And what can you offer Pakistan in terms of a commitment to move on issues of interest to them? Then I think there is deals to be made in the next 2 months.
Okay. If I were to say that that's a hope, but others would say it's an unrealistic hope, then people would turn it around and say, but at least the two Prime Ministers have agreed to review sporting contacts. There's a possibility Indian cricketers will now visit Pakistan. Parliamentary delegations, at least from India to Pakistan, are going to be going. I'm not sure whether there are ones coming in return from that country. Does that amount to anything? Or is that just very minor?
I think it does. I mean, you have to start somewhere. You have to start with some small confidence-building measures, whether it's about people, whether it's about travel, whether it's about trade and investment. I mean, I agree. I mean, there are boxes that can be ticked reasonably easily that can build a foundation towards some of the bigger fundamental issues. I mean, what you want to avoid above all is leaping, which has happened in some of the rhetoric over the past 3 years, is leaping straight into the Kashmir discussion, straight off, which then, of course, immediately polarizes the both sides. But I think if you could start small, even if it's just with cricket games, that would be a start.
Would Pakistan, Casey Singh, be prepared to start small and put Kashmir later? Not on the back burner, just later. I'm going to put that same question to Aziz Ahmed Khan first, but let me ask you that.
See, this has been the Indian suggestion always, that anywhere where there are serious disputes, you start with confidence building measures, go up the ladder, And as confidence increases, in fact, many of the disputes
That's our
just
position.
disappear.
Will Pakistan
I know.
accept it?
Composite dialogue itself was a recognition that Pakistan was not willing to do it step by step. And that's why it was called the composite dialogue. So everything was made simultaneous. Now that dialogue, in a sense, there may be a blessing in disguise because it's decomposed. Now that dialogue is again broken up into subgroups. So therefore you have an opportunity to move on separate groups because now secretaries are meeting separately. So there is an opportunity there.
Aziz Ahmed Khan, this may well have to be the last question on this show. Would Pakistan be prepared to move on the doables and leave Kashmir for a little later?
You see, the logic behind the composite dialogue was that on those 8 parallel tracks that we had agreed to, lack of progress in one would not impede progress on the other. So at least let us go ahead and make progress where the progress is possible.
Okay.
There are complicated issues like Kashmir which may take a little longer to resolve, but at the same time, as I said, and I would don't please think that I am repeating like a stuck record, but Siachen and Sirkrit were very doable in 89.
Okay.
Why don't we do it? As for that, this is the same for the CBMs. I mean, we have agreed to group tourism and we have not implemented it. There are so many
Okay,
others that we go through the
I'll
list
stop
where
you
we
there.
have just
I'll stop you there because you've given a very reassuring answer to Indian ears. Decoded, you're saying Pakistan will be or ought to be prepared to come to Kashmir a little later. A quick last word before I end the show.
We are talking to them on Kashmir, so why are we? I don't think we need to be defensive on that. I think we can move on both the tracks, on CBMs, on smaller issues, as well as continue negotiations on the big issues.
We need to have the confidence of what we're actually doing and not be defensive about what we're doing. My thanks to all three of you for joining me. My thanks also to Aziz Ahmed Khan, and in particular for that very reassuring answer that in fact let's do the doable and leave Kashmir for a little later. Well, if you have been, thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night.